welcome back to the Stormwater Creek podcast. The hypothetical of the day is, if you could hunt a species of animal living or extinct, what would it be? Brandon, start us off.
Woolly mammoth. You gotta have something in your living room that takes up all the livable space.
Yeah.
You just have
Would
to.
you full body mount that?
I think
Obviously.
that's almost
Obviously.
impossible, but shoulder mount the tusk would be out past the couch, so I like that idea.
I do. I think that would be kind of a
It's a
neat,
good look.
a bunch of stuffed humans trying to kill it with, like, a spear.
Stuffed humans.
Stuffed
Yeah.
Let's not go down that road.
Yeah, they got dark. They got dark quick.
It would be like a exhibit, a wax museum exhibit, you
Could
know?
be. Charge people to come to my house.
There you go. Jordan,
It would be the saber-tooth tiger.
Which is...
what did you?
A
What were you?
Smilodon. If I didn't say Smilodon, my daughter would be really
I
mad.
know, that's
that,
why I
Yeah.
was prompting you.
you know.
So, a saber-toothed tiger.
Oh yeah.
It's pretty cool.
Oh, yeah, he says. Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Oh,
Oh,
yeah.
yeah.
Oh, yeah.
What about you, Austin?
Irish elk.
Irish elk. Now, what can you explain what an Irish elk is for those who
They were just giant.
Just-
They're real palmated antlers, but they were giant.
kind of like a stag meets?
Kind of, yeah. They
Fallow,
were,
you know.
Yeah, they
Oh,
weren't
okay.
as tall. They were way more...
They had
Wide.
about a 12-foot spread.
Whoa,
Yeah.
whoa.
They stood like 7 feet tall, I think.
Not like moose size, but giant antlers.
That's a lot of meat to put in the freezer.
Yeah.
I would hunt a Bigfoot, and I forget. I've listened to enough Joe Rogan doing hike to hunt here. I wonder what was it called? Was it Giant Pithecus or something like that? Land
I don't know.
to upright ape.
Mm.
Seems a little weird, but Bigfoot's always a hot topic to talk about.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
So we're joined by a very special guest this week from Mojo Outdoors, Mr. Terry Denmon. How are you doing today? And what's your answer to the hypothetical?
Well, to start with, I'm great today, and I might be a little bit disappointing in my answer to that after all those exotics that you guys came up with. But, I'm often asked, what do I enjoy hunting the most? And I don't really have an answer for that. I enjoy anything that I get to go hunt. But if I had to just pick out one animal, I believe I would have to do a cougar from South America.
Oh, that would be cool.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's pretty
But
neat.
that's just something that exists today that we can no longer hunt. So
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Well, it was in the framework of the question.
that-
you did
absolutely.
good. So, well, we can't thank you enough for joining us this week once again, and tell everybody a little bit about yourself. How did you get into this crazy world of hunting and fishing?
Well, I was born and raised in a very rural area in the Mississippi River Delta of northeast Louisiana, which is pretty much sportsman's paradise. And I was raised in a hunting family and a situation where you could literally just walk out the back door of a house and you're hunting. Just keep on walking, which allowed me to hunt a lot before I was old enough to say drive or had transportation to go to other places. So I just started my life out hunting. I've always done that. I used to hunt and fish both a lot, but in a little bit later in life, time-wise, I had to give up something, so I gave up fishing. But so I've been hunting as long as I can remember. My dad was a dyed-in-the-world bird dog man, quail. That's all he wanted to do, raise dogs. He liked to train his own dogs, hunt quail. So I did a lot of that growing up, but I did a lot of other type of hunting too. So I don't really have a answer to how I got into it, other than to say that, as far as I can remember back, I've always been into it.
Born and
just
raised,
there.
yeah.
I've just been a hunter.
Well, it's a lot of us I think, have been in that, kind of, maybe some of us more than others have been involved in hunting for their entire lives. Others have just kind of taught themselves. I know I was raised around guns my entire life, but as far as hunting goes, it was something I started a little later in life, and it's been an adventure to try to navigate those waters. So it's pretty fortunate you got to just exist in that world for forever.
And it's kind of interesting how people take to it or not. I had two brothers growing up, one older, one younger, and we all hunted when we were growing up, when we were at home. And now neither one of them hunt after they left home and went to college and then on. They don't hunt. I have two sons, and I started them hunting at very very early age, and one of them now don't want to do anything but hunting and fish, and the other one don't care to go hunting anymore. He likes outdoor adventure, but he don't care to hunt anymore. So, it's just it's for some people and it's not for some people.
Mm-hmm. Like you said, some people just kind of take to it and others don't, and it's always interesting, because I can't imagine not having something like that in my life, where you're involved in the outdoors like that.
Sure, and some of the people that you see that get involved in it later in life, they are the most enthusiastic hunters that we have.
Yeah, I think so. They figured it out and they're trying to, get as much of it as they can and enjoy it while they can, and that's us. I mean, I'm going on my first elk hunt this year, and so I'm super excited to kind of step outside the state of Texas into a new territory for the first time for sure. So.
Well, elk hunting's a great sport, but exercise before you go.
Yeah, no doubt. I've got a pretty solid walking routine right now. It's we're doing Hike to Hunt, which is we're all pretty involved with Backcountry Hunters and Anglers, which is a nonprofit for public land advocacy, and we're doing their Hike to Hunt challenge, and it's a lot of miles right now we're putting on our feet, and it's getting us in shape for hunting season for sure.
Cool. So that'll pay off for you.
Yeah, we're hoping so, and some sweet elk meat in the freezer come October. So as far as Mojo, what's kind of the history? What's the story, and how did the whole party come together?
Well, I actually turned out to be an engineer in life. I went to engineering school after graduating from high school, and got a degree as an engineer, and later formed my own engineering firm, and that's what I've actually done for most of my life. And but as I said before, I've always been a duck hunter, and there was another family that my family was friends with, and that had two sons, one of them older, one of them younger than me, and we were good friends, and we hunted all over. And the younger one of the brothers, he was a tinkerer. He loved to tinker, and he liked to work on cars and guns and stuff. He'd build race cars and balance people's race car engines for them. He could build about anything. And his brother and his father had died, and so the family had gotten out of the hunting business. And the way Mojo started is that we owned a farm in Catahoula Parish. Catahoula Parish is a fairly famous duck hunting place, and Catahoula Lake's a major staging area for waterfowl. And so we'd always been around duck hunting, but this particular guy, the tinkerer I'm talking about, he didn't like anything about duck hunting. Me and his brother duck hunted. I still own that farm today. But anyway, in 1999, the concept of the spinning wing decoy came out of California. And I've heard a good many stories or rumors or whatever they are about, exactly how it got started out there. But, somehow they figured out that if you spin this blade, spin this wing, dark on one side, white on the other, it gives off a strobe, and ducks are, and other birds too, but let's just cover ducks in the beginning. Ducks are extremely attracted to it. And so this guy started making in California. His name happened to be Robert Matthews. He was a rice farmer in the valley there. And he came out with a commercial product that he called fatal deduction. It wasn't around very long, okay? But it got to this area, northeast Louisiana, heavy duck hunting, up in Stuttgart, right north of us, heavy duck hunting. It got there, but you couldn't buy one of them because the demand far exceeded the supplies. And then so we'll bring in a third member of this store, and it's a guy named Jeff Simmons, owns a Bass Pro-Size sporting goods store in Bastrop, Louisiana, which is just 20 miles north of Monroe, where I'm at. And Jeff found out about them through, I heard the stories about how he found out about them, but he couldn't buy them, and he had all these duck hunters that wanted one, so he calls my other brother, my other friend, whose name was Murray. He calls Murray and said, Murray, can you build me some of these? Now, it's in the duck season, okay? Duck season don't go at that time. So Murray said, okay, we was all friends. I'll build you some of them. Murray had a shop, he could make most anything. So he gets the thing, but the one that they devised in California had a small high-speed motor, similar to what would run an old VCR or remote control car or something like that, real fast. And they put it in a duck body, and they had to slow it down by some method. So they used a little system of two pulleys with a drive belt, and their drive belt was a little O-ring, okay? And so, that wasn't a very good design, but the thing worked. As long as it worked, it would certainly attract ducks. So he gives Murray one, and Murray looks at it. Well, he don't know how to size the motor and all that stuff, so he and I, lifelong friends, I'm an engineer, he calls me on the phone one day and he starts telling me about this. I never heard of this type of decoy. And so he wants me to help him size the. Yeah, I never heard of anything like that. And I'm duck hunting.
Yeah.
It's in the middle of duck season. I'm duck hunting. I'm killing a lot of ducks. And so all Murray wants me to do is help him figure out how to put these components together to make it work. And I kept asking, I said, tell me again what kind of decoy you talking about, bro? That's the craziest thing in the world. And he said, I don't know anything about duck decoys. He said, but Jeff wants me to make some, and I got the time to make them, and I need somebody to help me size the pulleys and motor. I said, okay, I can do that in a few minutes. I'll come up there to your shop tomorrow at noon. The shop about 15, 20 miles from my engineering office. So I go up there and I take a look at it, and I said, well, I don't even understand how it works, Murray, but, I can tell you one thing, that, this little motor and pulleys and all that stuff, that's a poor way of doing it. And he said, yeah, you're right. He said, I got a better idea than that. He said, give me a day or two, and I'm going to call you once you come back up. So I just went on about the engineering because I wasn't too concerned about it one way or the other. And so a couple of days he called me and said, come here and look at this. We'll go up there, and he has built what turned out to be the original Mojo Mallard, and by taking a double shafted blower motor, that's out of a Caterpillar equipment, something that blows the fan up in the Caterpillar equipment. And it's got a shaft coming out of each end, and so he gets that motor slowed down just by use of putting a different battery to it. And I won't get into too much. I'm trying not to get too far in engineering here. And then he made some wings out of 040 aluminum. That's what you wrap race cars with in those days,
Mm-hmm.
And it was already white on one side, so we only had to do dark on the other side. And he hooked those wings directly to those motor shafts. So now he don't have a transmission. The gears are gone. The thing's quiet. It's not turning very fast. Blah blah blah. Whatever. Yeah, that's a good deal. And so I just helped him through that duck season to make them as best I could, and however many that him and his buddies could make in a day. At the end of the day, he would take them up to this sporting goods store, and people would come that night and pick up every one of them, so they never owned one for more than a day.
Good gosh.
And they never owned one until the next day. And so he gave me one, and so next time I go hunting down to my farm in Catahoula Parish, which I probably was the next weekend, I'm not sure about that. I'm not sure this thing works. I mean, this is a pretty stupid idea if you ask me, So it's before daylight. It's kind of turning gray, and so I go out in front of I'm hunting in a pit blind. I go out in front of my pit blind, and I put this thing up, and I can remember kind of looking around to see if anybody is watching, because I don't want nobody watching. It's me and one of my engineer buddies, okay? And so I put it on the pole, and I turn it on. It's just gray. You can't always see anything yet, and I'm just slowly wading back to getting my pit blind, and I hear, and I turn around, and there's probably 30 or 40 mallards landed on top of this thing. So,
wow.
Man, there may be something going on here,
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And so, anyway, as he gets to going in this thing, he don't like to do any kind of business. He likes to tinker, to
Yeah.
the type of personality that takes her build anything, fix anything, whatever. But business and all that stuff don't entertain him. So he would always ask me these questions, and he said, "Well, dear, I need to give this thing a name." He said, "What would you give it?" I said, "I don't know, Murray." I said, I know the corporate trend today is real short, simple, easy to remember, rolls off the tongue, that type of stuff. He said, "What would that be?" Well, I told him, I said, "You remember on our farm, my farm that I grew up on, and my parents, farming was not our primary livelihood. My mother was a school teacher. My dad worked for the U.S. Department of Agriculture, where Murray's family were big farmers. We had a little device on our farm, and I don't know what it was. I kind of think it was somebody's stab at making a garden plow or something like that, but it was a gasoline motor and had pretty big tractor type wheels on it and a clutch, and I think we're supposed to pull a plow, but we didn't have any plows for it, and we'd pull trailers and things like that with it. And my dad called it a Mojo. He'd say, "Get that Mojo and bring it over and hook that trailer." Okay. So I said, "You remember that?" And he said, "Yeah, I remember that." And I said, "Well, there's no word easier to remember than Mojo. And so let's call it a Mojo something." So we called it a Mojo Mallard. And we made stickers and put on it, it said Mojo Mallard, and duck season ended, no more demand for them. And I kept trying to I tell Murray, I said, Murray, that's going to be a heck of a deal. You ought to start making those things. And he said, I ain't too interested in that. Every time I would see him, I'd say, "You ought to make those, Murray." I said, "You sell a lot of those things." "Nah, I don't want to do that." So one day I said, "Murray, if you want to make those, go in business, make those, I'll go in business with you and I'll hit you." And he said, "I'll do that." He was just looking for somebody to do the business part of it, And so we decided we'd do that. We needed, I said, "Well, okay, well, I can do all the business part of it. You can make them, need somebody to sell them." So we go to the sporting good guy, Jeff Simmons, Sporting Good, and he's well connected in the outdoor industry. So the three of us started that in March of 2000. That'd be, 6 weeks after the duck season ended. And so we just started trying to get it all together. And so in my engineering firm, I had this really talented young lady that was graphics, she could write narrative, do all that stuff. She filled out engineering proposals for us is what she did. So I said, "Well, look," her name was Lisa. I said, "Look, Lisa, go make some taglines and get this ready and, get some logos and do all that type of stuff." She said, "Okay." And so a few days later, she walks in my office and she says, "Denmon, and do you know what Mojo means?" I said, "No, ma'am, I ain't got a clue." And she said, "Well, in that case, you're the luckiest SOB alive," except she didn't say SOB. And I said, "Why would that be?" She said, "Well, because it means magic. And by luck, you dummy, you have named your product a magic mallard." I said, "Well, that's great."
Wow.
So, Mojo doesn't exactly mean magic. It's a charm.
Yeah.
It's voodoo. The
Yeah.
voodoo term, the little bag that the voodoo ladies have their seashell and chicken feet and stuff. It's a Mojo bag,
Yeah.
However, Muddy Waters kind of changed all that with the song "I Got My Mojo."
Yeah.
So, that's it. That was the first year, and we thought we did a lot of work and decided that we could make about 7,500 of those that year. And we thought we could sell about 7,500 of those that year. And when the year's over, we'd made a little over 15,000 and sold every one of them.
Wow. And so,
That's the story of Mojo.
do you still have one of the first runs of them?
I do.
Yeah. Could you send us a picture so we could post it on social media?
I'd love to see a picture of one of the very
That
first
would be
Mojos.
awesome. And we'll tag Mojo and everything, obviously.
I'm super excited.
I can do that. I'll hook y'all up with my social media guy, and we'll share your post. And probably drive a little traffic both ways. More people see it.
Absolutely. Sure. I'm super excited that thing was made with a Caterpillar blower motor. That made me that got me excited. That's
Jordan's
awesome.
a tinkerer also.
Yeah.
He likes
I tell
mechanical
people,
things.
if you ever find one of those that we made the first, maybe 2 or 3 years, I don't remember which one it is now. Don't let it get away from you, because that motor. If you'd have walked into a parts store and bought it, would have been about $85.
Oh my gosh.
We bought it from a reclaimer, if you know what that is.
Yeah,
you know,
oh,
when
yeah,
you fix
for
up
sure.
this change thing, they dump them all on some reclaimer. We was paying $7 or $8 for it, but it was an $85 motor, and you couldn't. I mean, we get all these stories about the people. I dropped my Mojo in 20 foot of water in the duck season. I go back in, June and get it out, and it still runs. So you couldn't hardly make the thing not run.
Wow.
But that was all a guy named Murray Crow. He figured all that out.
Wow.
I can say your current Dove Mojos for sure. Jordan and I have been out when storm came through and blew them over in the spread, and the water came up some, and I've dug them out of 4 and 5 feet of water, and I have them today still.
Yeah.
Yeah. Those things aren't waterproof by any means,
Sure.
But if you don't let the motor stay too long without running it, they can endure lots of bad weather.
Oh yeah.
But, best thing to do is if you get them wet, spray a little oil of some kind in the motor shaft and crank them up and let them run right then. And
Yeah.
we've had, I can't tell you how many of them in the water that we probably still using today.
Yeah. So speaking of like the dove, so you started with the ducks. That was the original. When did you start branching out to other species?
I think probably the second full year we was in business, we probably made the dove. That was the next product we made after a duck was the dove.
Okay.
And because that's about the same year we made our own body. The first couple of years we was in business, we just buy a decoy of some type and cut it open. It wasn't really made to do what we were doing with it. And so we I think about the second full year during the second full year we developed it. We didn't have no market the third year. I think that's when we developed that Landon mallard with the pig and the breast and that type of thing.
Yeah.
And the dove was the next thing that we brought out after the duck.
Okay. Any
If you want to see something really crude, find you one of those original old doves. It had a it had a dove body. We made a dove body, and it had about the same motor and the wings we got now, but we didn't have a small battery to put in there, so it has like an extension cord. It runs down to the ground where you'd set the duck battery on the ground and pick it up. Duck battery probably runs it the whole dove season.
Oh, wow.
It was a pretty crude device, but it worked.
What kind of batteries are those ducks running? Were they like the big square lantern batteries or what?
The first year we was in business, we used those lantern batteries, but then we got into using seal lead acid batteries. We have our own made
Sure.
now.
Yeah.
Just for us, but back then we just buy them in mass. But it's it's about 1.5 inches by 3 inches by 5 inch battery, and kind of big, but lead acid batteries, that's the same you got in your car.
Yeah.
Lead acid batteries are the most power for the money that you can buy.
For sure.
So, do you make any other? I mean, obviously, I think the powerhouse is the dove and the ducks. But what else do you guys have as far as decoys? Or are those just the ones that work, and those are the ones you're gonna stick with?
No, we make about 100 SKUs altogether, and they're not all decoys, but the majority of them are decoys. And we went from making the Mojo mallard, then we made a price point decoy called the Mojo Junior. It doesn't exist today. It was just same body but with a smaller motor, and I'm not sure about the battery on it. And then we went to making different species of ducks, and then we started molding, more realistic bodies for them. We made them that would run on the lead acid battery I mentioned before, or we've got a lot of them that run on 4 AA's. And then year before last, we came out with a whole new patented concept in our Elite Series.
I was just about to ask about that. I've seen them online.
Yeah. Actually, the first decoys that we made, even though they worked great, they really was not designed correctly, and they were designed like that because it's the best that we could do. We had to just get a decoy body of some kind, a hollow decoy body, cut the back out of it, attach the motor onto the inside. That's the best we could do. So I always had this thought process that we ought to build one of them correctly. And by correctly, if you just follow most any other motorized device that you would know, from a car, truck, tractor, motorcycle, vacuum cleaner, it doesn't matter. It's got a motor mounted in a housing of some type, which would be structurally attached to a frame. You wouldn't attach your wheels on your car directly to your motor. It just don't work that way.
Sure.
Or in reverse, we was actually attaching the motor to the body of the decoy. So we developed that Elite Series, and it's got a structural housing, and everything is mounted into that housing. It don't even have to have a body. And then we made a PVC flexible body that just wraps around it, and it makes it quieter, faster, smoother, better looking. And so we make that in quite a few different species today. In fact, for this year we've added 2 diver species to that, being the bluebill and the redhead. And y'all have a lot of redheads in South Texas on the coast.
Yep.
And then we made a floater several years ago, and we've upgraded that floater to our new Elite Series also. It's just a more user-friendly, quieter decoy. But we make a crow decoy. I'm sitting here trying to remember. We make a number of predator decoys.
You have a hawk. It looks cool.
Yeah, we make a hawk.
I'm on y'all's website actually right now looking around.
Yeah.
So
And,
these new Elite ones, that little box that hangs off the front of them, what is that? Is that a remote?
Yeah, it looks like it fit in your hand.
Yeah, it's kind of got a clip on it. Is that just the remote?
That's a remote transmitter. Yes, sir.
Gotcha. Let me ask this: you're talking about adding these species. How important is the species
To match.
to match? Like, because we get such a mixed bag here, kind of we hunt. I mean, one day we shot mallard, gadwall, pintail, and a teal on the same day.
Well, it's probably not as important as a lot of people assign to it.
Sure.
It's more about the wings.
Mm-hmm.
It's more about the wings than anything else. When we developed, this is another interesting story here. Most of these stories involve some screw up I made, So this is another interesting story about a screw up I made. You can take that dove and duck hunt with it. The ducks are highly attracted to it.
Yeah.
And one reason that they're so attracted to the dove is because the wings turn faster. And the reason they turn faster, they run on the same motor, but the wings are a lot smaller, so it just naturally turns faster, So I kept hearing so much of that. I said, okay, we need to make a duck decoy with what we call super fast wings. Okay, so I made a green wing teal, and I turned the wings the same speed I turned them into dove. And I take them to Canada with me, and I never killed a green wing teal in Canada in my life. And but I put them out there for mallards, and so a lot of people attach a lot of importance to the species, and how hunting is. If it's working good that day, it probably don't make any difference. If you're having to, pull everything out of the bag you can pull out, it might make a difference.
Mm-hmm.
That's kind of what I thought, but I wanted to hear it from the man himself.
Yeah, exactly. So kind of sticking along with that, what's kind of the most interesting way you've seen somebody actually use a Mojo, or have heard about somebody using a Mojo?
Well, probably the most interesting aspect of those spinning wing decoys is what we call the multiple Mojo theory. And it got actually started by the guy that co-hosts a TV show for me now, is a guy from out of Jackson, Mississippi, called named Mike Morgan. And Mike Morgan, one of the original pioneers of outdoor TV. And they was making outdoor TV when they were just putting it on public, on public channels and airing it. and there wasn't outdoor channels and all that stuff at that time. And he came to see me. Well, we was at the SHOT Show one year. First year we ever went to the SHOT Show. Him and his partner Jim Jones came to see me, and they had a real popular TV show back in those days called Hunting Across America. You might have heard of it. It hadn't aired in quite a few years, but it's very popular back in those days. And they had a place where they hunted on this public lake in Mississippi, and somebody showed up with a mojo one day. They never even heard of one. Somebody showed up with a mojo and kicked them pretty good, and they used to be in the king of the hill on this little lake, and so they had to have one. So so we gave them one. We didn't have it a few. We gave them one, and they got into a war, about who could put the most mojos out there, and whoever put the most mojos out there was killing all the ducks. And so we got to studying that thought, that concept or that theory or whatever you'd want to call it. And we find out that, there is times when you can put 10 of them out and kill a lot of ducks, where if you put one or two, you wouldn't probably kill any. And then there are times when they don't want that much flash, so it's pretty hard to predict when it is. I'm sure that a guy named Harold Knight, Nightingale.
Oh, yeah.
And he's extremely famous, Harold Knight and David Hale, the Nightingale Company are. And he came to me one time and asked me about that and said they had a place where they had a goose pit in a dry field up above Nashville, Tennessee. He said ducks fly over all the time. He said, but they won't land in that field at all, And he said, someone told me if I put a bunch of mojos out there, they'd land. He said, is that true? I said, there is some truth to it, Harold. I don't know if it's actually true or not. There is some truth to it. Some days, if you got a bunch of them, they'll come eat them up. And some days, you got a bunch of them that don't want that much flash, you won't come around. So he wanted to buy 40. I said, no, you don't need 40. Harold, 40. I'm going to send you 15 or 20 of them up there. You put them out, And so I did that. And the next time I saw Harold, I asked him about that. I said, that worked. He said, some days. It did. Some days it didn't, So, I don't know. I don't really know, but there's all kind of different ways to deploy them.
So as far as using that multiple method, if you're going out on a given day, what would be a factor that you would think about that would say, all right, I'm going to put 5 out as opposed to 1 or 2, or 10 out instead of 1 or 2?
Well, the factors that might influence it, number one would be the weather. For instance, if the front just came through and you got a cold bluebird day, you probably do good by putting out, a number of them.
Like a bluebird day?
A cold bluebird day, a couple of different things. They like that flash better, on a blue sky, and they like it less if the ceiling is low. And it's probably causing some reflection up there that doesn't look natural to them or something. I can't tell you what that is. I just tell you it's typically like that. And the other thing would be how fresh are your ducks? Now, I'm over here in the Mississippi Flyway. We got the most ducks in the United States. We got the most duck hunters in the United States. So by the time those ducks get down here, they're highly pressured. Highly pressured ducks, just work radically different than fresh ducks do. And so if you're over here hunting in this type of area, and you've had the same ducks for several days, for quite a few days, there's been no front come through bring fresh ducks, you're probably not going to do well with by putting out 6 or 8 of them.
Okay.
So oftentimes we will just go ahead and start with several, maybe 6, 7, 8, something like that. And we'll watch the ducks and see what they want. And if they don't want it, we just jump out and turn them off.
Adapt, yeah. Okay.
So you just turn them off and leave them out there, or you try to pull them?
I turn them off and leave them out there. Turn the white down is usually the best way of doing it.
Gotcha.
Okay.
Rock on. That's good advice.
That is a good tip. So, you were telling me a little bit about kind of a way that people are maybe using the decoys in an incorrect way or in a way that may not be the most efficient. So what was you want to share that with us as far as how you think that somebody may be able to use decoys a little bit more efficiently? For instance, we have a tendency to kind of have them right in the middle of our spread, and or to one side or the other, but most of the time they're pretty close. So, you have any thought on that?
Yeah, I have a lot of thoughts on that because we have studied it for so hard for so long, and some years ago we had the theory that said this is a general rule of thumb. Now, it's to convey an idea, a thought process. Early in the season, put your mojo right in the killing hole. Mid-season, when they get a little more spooky, move it out to the edge of your decoys. Late season, when they're real spooky, go hide it under a bush somewhere. So that's a thought process, okay? Well, what happened is that, spinning wing decoys have been so effective for so long. They've been there for 20 years now. They've been so effective for so long that been a lot of ducks killed over them,
Mm-hmm.
If ducks going to survive as a species or any other, wild creature, they got to catch on to danger. If they don't catch on to danger, they're not going to survive. And so they learned that spinning thing, when they get closer to it, they can recognize that it's probably not the real thing. And so they get to where they don't want to land right on top of it. And you hear some hunters say, especially in the later parts of the season, that they're flaring off of it. And they probably are. They probably just don't want to land on top of it because too many of them have been killed doing that. So the point that I would like to get over to the hunters is that, typically their reaction to that is don't use the mojo. Take it out of your spread. Take it out of your arsenal of tools. And we believe that's exactly the wrong thing to do because the main benefit, the main advantage of a spinning wing decoy was never as a finishing tool. It was as a long-range attraction. And it attracts ducks and other birds too, dove and pigeon and quite a few other birds from very, very long distances, much further than they can see motion. They couldn't see real ducks from that far off, except for the same little white flashes that the real ducks give off that the spinning wing decoy tries to duplicate, tries to mimic, And so if you take it out, if you don't use it, you give up that long-range attracting power. So, oftentimes when that's a situation, the birds see that, they come to it, they get up there and they say, no, I ain't going to land close to that thing. They might land 100 yards out there. So, what we say do is, if they don't want to land closer than 100 yards to it, put it 100 yards from the killing hole. That way you're still attracting them, but, you're not flaring them off the final end. The problem came from the fact that when they first came out and ducks had never seen them, you just punch the button, start the wings, ducks come over and landed next to them. So nobody ever had occasion to need to think that, wait a minute now, this thing is attracting birds from a long way off. They think it appeared to just be a finishing device, but it will finish. It is a great finishing device if birds are not highly pressured with it. But once they are, they'll land right on top of it some days. And so don't do away with it. Move it out there somewhere. If you could put it 100 yards from your decoy spread, and you could make a duck come to there, then you're a long ways toward the end goal.
Absolutely.
That's really funny because like a few years ago, we were having problems with just seeing ducks in general, and everyone getting together, all the other duck hunters and stuff were talking, and they were like, man, motion decoys aren't working. You need to stop using them. And they're not coming into it. They're just highly pressured. Stop using them. And it's funny to hear this because that's makes more sense when it's said about using it as an attractant. Just don't put it in your spread.
Push it away a little farther or something.
That's awesome.
When they said they weren't working, then that all comes back to what their definition of working was. They weren't landing right on top of it. That don't mean they weren't working.
Yeah.
It just means they weren't landing on top of it.
Mm-hmm.
Which is what everybody wants.
That's a phenomena that's kind of hard to explain, but if you will take video of a bunch of ducks, flocks of ducks, and it doesn't matter if they're flying in the air, sitting on the water, sitting on the dry ground, whatever it is. When the light gets low, you can just see little flickers that go all through that flock of ducks. Kind of remind me somewhat of like lightning bugs. You guys have lightning bugs.
Mm-hmm.
And it's just little flickers all through them. And that's where they constantly beating their wings while they on the dry ground, on the water, wherever you watch them, they raise up and beat their wings a little bit, and that's how ducks find other ducks, is those little white flashes. They can see them in the air when they beat their wings real hard. They can see them when they backpedal the land. They can see them sitting on the water, sitting on the dry ground. That's what led us to the development of the rocket flicker product, is a combination of, it looks more like live ducks, and the combined with the fact that after so much hunting pressure, ducks get to where they can recognize that one big decoy sitting up there just constantly spinning. And we sell a lot of timers, interrupters, intermediate operators, to make them run on, run off, run on. But you really can't duplicate it with that to the extent that you can, like the little flickers that we make.
Yeah.
So what's the best way to use those little flickers? I've been wanting some, just haven't pulled the trigger on them yet. They come 6 in a pack. So they don't work. One don't work by itself. They come 6 in a pack, and they all have different on-off timers. And you just scatter them amongst your decoys. And what it does, they'll run from like 2 on and 4 off, and next one might run from 4 on and 2 off, and so they run all different cycles. So it's those same little flickers throughout your decoy spread that actually live ducks do. Mm-hmm. And so there's really not a lot of different ways to put them out. You just, you put your decoys out however you think's best for your situation, and then scatter these rocket flickers throughout them. Yeah, so I guess what I'm asking is like, do you just kind of randomly put them out? Like, is it they're too close to a decoy, or does it really not matter? Just randomly put them out there where you think it should be.
We have try to put them fairly close to the decoy, just so you got something that looks like a duck, and you got a flicker close to it. I don't think it makes any difference myself, I just scatter them amongst the decoys
just to get their attention.
Just to get their attention. One thing that we think we have learned by playing with all that stuff is that when these birds, see those decoys and they see movement all through them, whether or not it's just waves making them move or whatever's causing motion through there, they just associate that with live birds. They don't seem to have the thought process that says, well, that little flicker is not right next to that decoy. That little flicker is not right next to that duck.
Yeah.
I don't think they have that thought process at all. I've seen no evidence of it.
Okay, that's kind of what I was getting at. Like, I just would hate to use it incorrectly.
I don't think you can.
Rock on.
I don't think as long as you get it out there around your decoys, I don't think there's any incorrect way to put it out.
Not using it is the incorrect way.
Foolproof is what I need.
Yeah. So, you've mentioned a couple of times different kind of things you've studied and just observed over years of using these things and what kind of works and what doesn't work. What about distance from the water with those mallards? Is it better to have them a little higher from the water? Have you messed around with higher off the water, lower to the water? Does there seem to be kind of a method to the madness with the height off the water for those decoys?
Well, let me answer that by saying it does make a difference, but it's more of madness to the method than a method to the madness, because you can't always figure it out ahead of time. Now, we use tall poles a lot, and actually we make called an extension pole today. It's 3-4 foot sections that you can put together 1, 2, or 3, so it can be 4, 8, or 12 feet high. But before we did that on our farm, we just get long joints of square tubing and chop it up all different lengths and go leave them by various blinds and get out there and put them high, put them low, put them whatever. And, there are some days when if you put them up high, man, they like it. And there's some days when you put them up high and then they don't like it. Yeah. And, again, I know it's somewhat associated with the weather, but try as I have, I have not figured out exactly, what makes the difference, but it will make a difference. And through the course of all of this, for over 20 years, we've developed the philosophy that you just got to let the ducks tell you what they want that day. You can't necessarily figure it out ahead of time. I was invited a few years ago to go up north of Monroe here to a guy that's a friend of ours that owns a guiding service. It was an early blue wing teal season, September teal season. And so we go up. It's fairly late into the season, even though those seasons are only like 16 days. But it's in the middle of the season, not the beginning. So we go get this pit line in this rice field, and he puts out his decoys, and we get out there and put some of our deal. And we put one of these little teal decoys up on a high pole, probably 10 foot. Okay, we had a great shoot. And he had 2 or 3 of his guides in the blind with us, and we didn't think much about it. And he said, okay, he talked to his guides now. He said, okay, guys, y'all see the difference today? And they said, what's that? And he said, well, they put that decoy up on that high pole, and they came up here, and we had a good shoot where they've been, flying by too far for them to shoot. So it made a difference. Even though we were only there one day, we wouldn't have known that it made a difference.
Yeah.
But he did. So, but, we like to start off with things like that. We make our best guess, and then we really, really watch what every bird does from the first time we see a bird on. And if you watch them enough, they'll start telling you kind of what you got to do.
Yeah. And so some of the other things, what are some of the other things you've kind of just observed with the way that ducks or any birds are kind of how they're utilizing or kind of moving around those decoys? I know we've covered a couple of them already.
Well, I'm trying to think of some best way to answer that. And basically the answer that I would have would be, pretty much a summary of the same thing we talked about, all along. To start with, always remember that it's a long-range attractor. That's just main purpose. If they'll land on top of it, which makes it a finisher, that's great. If they won't, then move it somewhere where it's not preventing them from landing in your killing hole. It's not making them uncomfortable to come to that killing hole. And, after that, it's, you have to think about, okay, do I need 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 of them? And, do I need them high or do I need them low? The floaters that we make, I have always liked those floaters. And naturally, they're right down on the ground. I'm sorry, right on the water. And, I have hunted with them on the ground, but typically they're right on the water. And, and I don't know. I've thought about one thing. You can see the reflection of those wings turning on the surface of most water.
Yeah.
So if a duck's overhead and he's changing his angle, looking at it all the time, he's seeing those wings, and he's got to be seeing the reflection of those wings in the water. And I don't know if that can look unnatural to them. I just don't know that. I don't know.
Well, maybe.
And I would
more.
give anything. I'd give anything if I could figure out the answers to all those things. I could say, no, go do this. But
yeah,
I don't think there is an answer that we can probably ever comprehend.
No, there's not a magic bullet. Do it this exact way and make it happen. So, as far as maybe less of centered around just mojos, but just from your years of experience with duck hunting, do you have a particular spread that you like to kind of go with? I mean, we hear people talk about different types of patterns.
All the letters of the alphabet.
Yeah, this J or this X or this or that. I mean, what's your take on just going to a spot and putting out decoys? I mean, is it random? Is it some sort of an organized kind of chaos like a J or an X or something?
Well, I've used the U and the J and the X, and it is said by lots of duck hunters, especially the older duck hunters, that a puddle duck doesn't like to fly over other puddle ducks. And I know that that's somewhat true. I know it's true on some days, and so, that theory would dictate that you would make your opening of your U or your opening of your J, so that they're going to come in straight into the wind. That's one thing you count on, a teal can cheat the wind a little bit, but something like a mallard, bigger duck like a mallard, a gadwall, a pintail, they're going to come right into that wind. So, you got to leave them a clear path, or you should leave them a clear path from your killing hole to wherever they're going to come in. And I do that by, before daylight, I say, okay, I want them to land right here. All right. Now, which way is the wind blowing, and I go straight downwind. I'll leave that open. But actually, in the last, 6, 7, 8 years, we've developed my favorite pattern, and that's put a little round group of decoys on one side of your blind and a little round group of decoys on the other side of your blind, and make sure that the duck comes in into the wind. He can come in between those two without flying over any of them. And I've just found that to be better, and I think it's better because it's more versatile. You don't have that long leg of the J that you got to worry about. The wind changes a little bit, and all of a sudden the leg's in the way. It'll form a blocking wall.
That makes a lot of sense.
You put the little two groups of ducks out there, the decoys out there, one on one side, one on the other. If you're doing a crosswind, you can still do that. One group's going to be further out from your blind than the other one is, but just watch the wind. If they coming straight into that wind, can they come right here and land without flying over another one of these decoys? Past that, it's different situations require different numbers of decoys. These guys hunting the big water, they may put out hundreds of them. And then, as you get toward the end of the season and ducks become pressured, all of a sudden, they become decoy shy, they become mojo shy, they become call shy, they become blind shy. They know exactly what a duck blind looks like. And so, you just got to kind of vary your spread.
Yeah.
The situation at hand.
What's most times you've gotten out of a blind to change your spread around?
A bunch.
A bunch.
A bunch.
A bunch.
I like that answer.
We hunt in Canada a lot. Lots of ducks up there. They hadn't been pressured. They're usually pretty easy. And so you can kill them there without doing exactly the right thing. Same thing in Mexico and, like Argentina, some of those places like that. But us to film them, we need them to basically come around and pose in front of the blind. That's what we need.
Mm-hmm.
And so we have several outfitters we hunt with up there, and they used to get quite aggravated at us because about 20 minutes into the hunt, when the ducks are flying really good, we say, stop. They just all jump out and go rearrange everything, and that was really hack them off, but they've kind of gotten used to it now. But we have a standard saying, if what you're doing is not working, get out and try something else,
Yeah.
Sometimes you can't always know what to try. Get out and try something,
Yeah.
We don't do that well.
No, we don't.
We set a spread and sit there till it's over.
That's the white telling us.
And we talk about it all the time. Like, should we change this? Should we change this?
Yeah.
And we never do.
But that's the white telling us. I mean, we're so used to being like, you just pick your blind and go for it.
Sit it out. So this year we're going
to
do that. We're gonna
you
do
watch
better
them ducks, for the most part, what them do, they all do the same thing,
Yeah.
So if that ain't what you need, you might as well try something else. You may or may not figure out what they want that day.
Yeah.
And there are days that they just not going to let you kill them. I mean, it ain't going to happen that day.
Yeah.
That's the way they are, and nothing you can do about that. But you can try. You can get out and try, this, that, and the other. We move mojos and other motion devices. We'll move them a lot. If ducks are favoring one side or the other, and you look out there and say, why are they favoring this side over here? It might be because they're coming to the motion device. It might be because they want to stay a little bit off the motion device. And so, get out and move it. And we're going to keep on doing that until we try to position them right in the middle.
That's like was just mentioned, we're pretty much a set it and forget it.
Comes from all the whitetail hunting.
Yeah. Just stay still.
Just sit.
But every single time we get out and move, that's when birds come. So
Yeah, that's what.
Well, that's because they feed.
Yeah. Well, last year, like the last 2 days of season, Austin and I were out, and we were, it slowed way down. It was, late morning, and had seen a couple mallards, so we were going to try to go scare them up. They were landed kind of far away, so we were kind of trudging through the lake, and all of a sudden, we didn't see any mallards get up, but here we're like, oh, here comes about a dozen pintails. And we both got one, but it was, I mean, we just sat in the, I mean, that's the thing, right? We were just sitting in the middle of the lake under no cover. We just stood real still, and they came right to us. And so,
Yeah, we were 100 yards from our spread and our blind.
So there is no method to the madness. It just,
sometimes it's just madness.
Sometimes it's just madness, and that's what we love about it.
But the thing about this, guy, I'm following up on what you said a while ago. You get out of the blind, or the dog goes out of the blind. It doesn't matter. If something gets out of the decoy and starts making a lot of motion, the ducks come.
Mm-hmm.
And they will fly up to you. I've killed them. I'm sure you have too. Now you have to bend over, get a low profile, and take a long shot. But I've actually killed them doing that. But let's just say they're going to get up 75 or 50 yards to you. I mean, they do that regularly.
Yeah.
So, what that tells me is
more motion.
They saw that motion. They were attracted to it, but they had to get inside of 100 yards before they could figure out what it was.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And, even though they do see in the UV range, so, your face is like a light bulb, your skin's like a light bulb.
That makes me want to interrupt and ask something. Face paint or no face paint? You see it all over the place. Everybody says something different. Does it matter? Does it matter for the UV range?
Yeah, yes, it'll help you. It'll help you. I think that if we all wore it, we'd do better. If we all grew beards, we'd probably do better. And look at my buddy Phil Robinson; he does real well with all them shaggy beards. And he wears that quarterback face paint stripe right under his eyes. I don't know if that's helping him a whole lot or not. It's selling him a lot of face paint, though. I can tell you.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think anything you can do to hide your skin is good. I don't wear face paint a lot. I wear it some. I don't wear it a lot, but I should have. I just don't.
Mm-hmm.
It's another one of them things where we just don't go the extra mile to succeed. But there are ways of hiding your skin without putting face paint on it. But it's hard to do. Everybody wants to look at the ducks, So why are you gonna go if you can't see the ducks,
Yeah, exactly.
I think on that basis, you're better off to wear it than not.
Yeah. So a boat was just purchased. And so, do you have any advice for people hunting out of boats? Just kind of best ways to do it, things you've learned not to do?
Well, we've hunted out of boats a good bit. It can be a bit of a challenge. You need to get the best, most realistic looking blind on there you can. And that might just be, cutting some brush. If you got a boat blind already, one of these drop down boat blinds, I've hunted out of those quite a bit. If you maybe just put some brush on it, some 3D it somewhere or other. I think one thing ducks catch on to is straight lines, 90-degree angles, and flat surfaces.
Yeah.
And so any of that stuff you can stay away from it is good. I've killed a lot of ducks out of a boat in tall timber. I don't think they can see it as well from overhead.
Gotcha.
If you got out in the open, then it gets to be more of a challenge.
Yeah, we can brush it in. It's funny though. I thought about that too. In the handful of years we've been duck hunting up here, I can confidently say I've only seen one other boat with a pop-up blind on it. It was those dudes push poling last year.
Mm-hmm.
I've never seen another boat up here with pop-up, grass blind or brushed in or anything. So hopefully these ducks don't know what's going on. Then those dudes, were shooting ducks.
They were killing a bunch of ducks.
And they did nothing but just had the grass. It was grassed in, popped it up, and they shot ducks. So.
They were also the best colors in the world.
They were very good duck colors. So just as far as cooking and eating ducks, what's your favorite way to cook and eat a duck?
My favorite way is to go to some lodge or take somebody to my camp that knows really how to cook them a lot. I am not a cook. I don't cook at all.
Yeah.
And I can't. But ducks, they don't have a lot of fat in their meat, and they're gonna dry out real quick. So you gotta come up with something that's gonna keep the meat from drying out. Mm-hmm. So we're in Louisiana. We're accustomed to throwing a lot of things in a big pot of water.
Mm-hmm.
And and making them that way, and that certainly keeps them from drying out. But you take, especially with teal, small breast ducks like that, you do them, do the poppers just like you do the dove. Now, you in Texas, you don't know a lot about dove poppers. You do the teal the same way. What you really can't do with wild duck meat is you just can't hardly, put it in the oven and bake it for a long time. It's just going to come out dry, and it's going to be hard to eat, So I can't really give you a recipe because I don't cook, but I have some guys at Mojo that are really, really good cooks, and so if I'm going to be down at the camp very long, I'll make sure some of those guys are around. That's the best.
I like your style, sir.
Yeah, that's the way to do it. The best way to cook is find somebody else to do it, right?
I know a lot of good cooks.
Yeah.
So, obviously you've hunted for a long time, but is there a kind of a bucket list hunt you've got right now that you
We're not talking waterfowl necessarily.
Yeah, anything you want to do.
Is there a big hunt it's on your list?
Well, I'm headed to Africa in July, next month, about a month from right now, and I'm going. I go around the world, and I like to call predators, and which is in no way related to duck hunting by any means, but it's just something I started calling predators when I was high school age, and I still call them, and I've gone to Africa calling before. I've called a leopard. I wasn't lion calling over there, and I called some lion, but I never called a big male lion. But I've called all three of the North American bears: the black bear, the brown bear, and the grizzly bear. Up to the call. Called a wolf up to the call. Called that leopard up to about 30 yards and kept it for 20 minutes. But I'm going to call a croc and a hyena in Mozambique, Africa, in July.
A croc? Like a crocodile?
A croc. A crocodile.
How do you call a crocodile?
Yeah, I was going to ask that.
I get the hyena, but...
Well, alligators, you guys be familiar with alligators. Alligators are fairly easy to call, and I've done that before, too. And there's several ways that you can call them, but it's mostly by using, alligator sounds. You have to get alligator sounds, and I call with an electronic call, and you get certain sounds on there that they want to come to. Unfortunately, in Africa, they won't let me shoot the croc in the water. I got to get him out on the bank, and I'll just be very honest with you. I do not believe that I probably call him up on the bank. So I'm not sure. I'm pretty sure we'll kill a croc. I'm not sure that we'll kill the same croc that we call. But even if we can't, I'm gonna see about calling them. Whether I can get them up on the bank to kill them or not, I don't know. But it'll be a more like a croc sound, and y'all know swamp people.
Oh,
yeah. Troy from Swamp People.
Oh,
Shoot 'em, Troy. He asked me one time. He said, "Could you make me a duck decoy that would slap the water?" And I said, "Oh yeah, it'd be the easiest thing in the world to make." He said, "Man, I could kill a lot of alligators with that because them and crocs both is gonna come to, some disturbance in the water. Something struggling in the water. So I may take. We made a product for years called a mallard machine. I don't know if y'all familiar with that or not. It wasn't our product. We bought the mallard machine company from a guy up in Arkansas. But you've probably seen them. It's the trolling motor pop turned straight up, floating on 4 decoys. So when you activate the propeller, it pulls it down. It makes the decoys dip in the water, and it makes all kind of waves and gurgling sounds. And I may take one of those motors and props off of that and put it in the water and just see if I can make a commotion in the water. And you come to, but over there they're not going to let me shoot the croc in the water.
Yeah.
In the States, we can shoot the alligators in the water and retrieve them. I've never seen one lost. They're pretty easy to retrieve, but they don't let me do that over there. So I'd have to get him up on the dry ground to shoot him.
That's very interesting.
Yes.
Across the board. I don't have anything productive to say. That's just cool.
I'm gonna have to Google what a croc sound is.
Yeah,
I have no idea what that. But I've got to give that a go because maybe we can.
Well, I got a guy.
Some crocs out.
A guy at Mojo is good at manipulating. Good at cleaning those sounds up and recording them and all that other stuff. And so we're putting together crocodile sounds right now. I just have to experiment when I get over there.
Yeah. That'll be a fun trip.
It'll be different. Yeah, it's my second time to go to Mozambique. It's a very remote part of the world. It's the part we're going to. That's the same place. Well, it's not the same place, but it's close to where I call lines. Once before in Africa.
That must be an experience. Lions are,
It is.
yeah. Well, you guys have any other questions? I think we've covered it about all.
You got everything I wanted to talk about.
Yeah, I mean, good.
For sure. I'm super
I've
stoked.
interrupted and had my share of questions. We covered the kind of list we came up with as far as I can think.
I'll tell you one thing. After buying the boat, I was really excited about duck season more than I already was excited about duck season. Talking about this, now I'm super stoked for duck season.
We're going to have some – we already have a mess of mojos. Now we need to get
More mess than Mojos.
more.
Yeah, we're going to go on your website and order some more gear.
I've already been on there.
We'll set you up as a VIP, and you can buy anything on our site for the same thing Walmart or anybody else pays for.
Oh, man.
Heck yeah.
Wow.
All right.
That's great.
But the trick, if I had to hunt in a boat, which I have done. The one thing that I would be more focused on was trying to direct that duck's attention to something other than that boat.
Yeah.
Something out in my decoy spread, and it might just be, if the wind's not blowing, then, your decoy spread doesn't look like live ducks. And one thing we do on our Facebook page and our Instagram page is every now and then we post a video of a lot of ducks, and if you ever get around a lot of ducks when they're totally relaxed, it's unbelievable how much motion and noise that they make. I mean, and water splashing and, everything else. And then we'll show a picture of a set of decoys with no wind, and we say, this looks like your decoy spread, and we can't duplicate that either, but like live ducks are. But there are things that you could do there, and they could be as simple as a jerk cord.
Yeah.
Yeah, we got a couple jerk rigs.
Yeah, I think we experimented a lot with that, having a couple.
What is your advice on using one of those? I mean, we've watched and read some, but you probably know more. Just, as soon as you kind of see you got eyes on some, just create a little motion.
Yeah, really what you're doing more than anything is making
Ripples.
motion in the water.
Yeah.
It is said that ducks can see motion about 3.5 times better than they can see static objects. I don't know how they determine that, but that's a fairly common saying. So certainly they can see motion. I know if you move anything in your blind, if you pick your gun up too quick, they're gonna see you pick that gun up.
Yeah.
And so any kind of motion there, that would look anywhere close to real, is going to attract their attention, and that's what you really want to do is get their attention off of the boat and you onto their decoys.
Okay.
And the other tip I would give you about that is that if they coming in anyway, and you don't need to, don't blow on your call. That's the biggest mistake I see people make with a duck caller. They blow it too much, and they blow it when the ducks are looking at them. And so if you're trying to transfer their focus out into your decoy spread and you're sitting up there blowing a mallard hen call, then, the duck don't know whether to look at you or or whatever you're trying to create out in the spread, And so many years ago, I learned that from a buddy, Phil Robinson, and he told me like that, and he said, only blow at their butt. Don't ever blow at their face,
Yeah,
And said, they coming in, leave them alone, you're already doing what you want,
Yeah, just try to turn around.
Mm-hmm.
But, people hunt with us, and, a lot of them be experienced thing. I mean, the ducks be coming in, and they still sitting up there blowing on that call. And if you watch them real careful, you can see sometimes when they blew the ducks off, that they blowing that call, the ducks finally saw them.
Less is more.
Yeah, that's a good saying.
Well, I kind of developed a deal that don't blow your call if you can see that you need to.
Yeah.
They quit coming. They circling around, doing something like that, then blow it at them. If they're just coming in, leave them alone.
Let your spread work for 5 minutes before you go change it again, right? Well, man, we've learned a lot.
Yeah,
I mean, this has been great. Is there anything, any cool new things coming out from Mojo that we should be on the lookout for, or anybody listening should be on the lookout for?
Well, we have those new floaters this year that in the elite styles. They should be popular. But we have one product that's a new concept, and the concept came out of basically the same thing we've talked about a good bit tonight, and it's called a mini flag. And what we've done, we've kind of copied the flocker flicker concept, and we make a double flicker also. And the difference between it and the flocker flicker is it's just made for dry land. It don't float in the water. And if you really want to set up a great dove spread, get you some static decoys and put them on the ground, especially if you're hunting where doves are feeding, and scatter those little double flickers around them. Amongst them, it makes them look really alive. But, we have had a lot of pressure over all the years to develop a goose product. And goose is very difficult. They're not attracted to a spinning wing decoy. Geese beat their wings very, very slowly compared to a duck or a dove or a pigeon or one of those types of birds, So they're either not attracted to or on some days actually scared of a spinning wing decoy. So we have worked on that, and there's quite a few people out there. They got flappers and this, and we played around with that stuff, but we don't break it out. We don't believe in it. And I never could come up with something I believed in there. But after going through all the deal with the flocker flickers and the double flickers, I said, look, you don't really need to make a goose decoy move. Start with, geese decoys are very expensive. So if you start off with that very expensive decoy, and they're big already, and then you start adding to it in both size and price, it just, how many of them could a guy afford to put in his spread out there? So we developed these little bitty flags that are in the same shape that a goose flag. You guys know what a goose flag looks like, the T-shaped flag. It's a little bitty miniature one of those on a little motorized housing. Same deal. You just scattered amongst your decoys, and it's got different on and off, and that type of thing to make the motion be random throughout your decoy spread. And we had them in Canada last year, playing with them twice. And one thing we learned is up there the ducks liked them just as well as the geese did. And so that's a product that it's not going to be like a flocker flicker when the consumer first hears about it. Say, oh, I got that. I understand that. I wish I'd have thought of that. It's not going to be that kind of product. It's going to take, we have to prove to people that it's going to make your goose or duck dry feel, not float in the water. It'll make your duck or goose spread in the dry fields come alive, and it's going to.
Wow, that's we would really like to do a little bit more goose hunting this year.
I've never. You see them up here. I feel like I see all of them during the summer on golf courses though.
Yeah.
I've seen some in the winter. They're here.
We just need to go to Amarillo.
We've never targeted them.
So what you're saying is we need to play golf more during goose season?
With shotguns in our golf bags?
And a fishing rod.
And a fishing rod. Yes.
You know what?
Well, Texas is a great goose state, especially North Texas.
Yeah, we're going to do some mule deer hunting up there this year, so maybe we'll figure that out.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You going mule deer hunting in the Panhandle?
Yes, sir.
I never mule deer hunted. I've hunted in the Panhandle a lot, but I've never mule deer hunted there. But I've seen some nice mule deer. But now I have mule deer hunted in Texas a lot, but I'm out in West Texas in the mountains. You know where town Marfa, Texas is?
Yes, I do.
The lights.
Yep.
Yeah, I've hunted out there for many, many years. In fact, I used to run the hunting on a ranch out there. I've guided antelope mule deer hunters probably for 20-something years out there.
That's awesome.
Yeah, we're public. We like to hunt a lot of public land, and so we're going to be taking a trip to Lake Meredith to do some over-the-counter mule deer hunting.
Where's Lake Meredith at?
You know where Amarillo's at?
45 minutes north of Amarillo.
Which way from Amarillo?
North.
North? Yeah, okay. I know where that is.
Yeah, just almost dead center of the Panhandle up there.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. There's a little town of Channing, Texas, that's northwest of Amarillo.
Yep.
And I call I call coyotes and bobcat predators out on a ranch in Channing, Texas.
Yep, I know Channing. I grew up in Amarillo,
Oh, really?
so I'm
Great
familiar
hunting
with that
around there.
territory.
You better look out the window every morning and see what the weather is, because there's no other way to know.
Go look out the window every 15 minutes.
Yeah. The first year I went up there, I got snowed on. Last year it was so cold and the wind was blowing, I think about 75 miles an hour.
Standard issue.
It was insane. I legitimately thought that the wind was going to pick me and my tent up off the ground and carry me away in the middle of the night. It was somewhat violent wind.
Didn't it get hot one day too?
Got hot the very first day.
You said it was all over the map, as
It
it always
was,
is.
It was 85 degrees, 90 degrees in November, and then the next day it was 28 degrees and blowing 75 miles an hour. It was insane weather. Wow. Yeah, I went to bed and woke up and there was ice in the inside of my tent. All the condensation had frozen, and it was that was a cold morning. The next night I slept fine. I'd gone to bed with it being somewhat warm and woke up and was like, I'm gonna die. I'm gonna freeze to death. And had to get warm again. But yeah, it's a lot of fun. We're looking to try to close the deal on a mule deer hunt on Lake Meredith. That's the only place you can over the counter hunt mule deer in Texas.
I guess okay. That whole part of the country up there, if you can catch a break on the weather, we schedule those predator calling deals usually 3 days, maybe 4. And out of 3 days, if we get a day and a half, we think we're lucky. But we have to schedule it fairly far in advance, because we got to put our film crew together. We can't just, okay, the weather's going to be good the next 3 days, let's go. We have to, get those guys to come in from here, there, and everywhere. But if you can get a couple of good days up in that country, it's some fine hunting.
Yeah, it's I've had a lot of fun up there, and it's just we're from East Texas, and I'm from East Texas, and so that's a completely different world, essentially, from up there. So
I'm excited.
I mean,
absolutely, yeah, it's great. All the Texas has an enormous amount of fantastic hunting.
Yeah,
all the different climate types. What do they call them? Ecological zones or something. Yeah, so much different.
Smart words.
Smart words.
Yes, Jordan.
But we are. I think I'm trying to talk these boys into going to Louisiana to go duck hunt this year.
His brother lives out there
in Baton Rouge, so I go out every year and hunt with him, and I'm hoping that I can drag these boys along this time. And but we may need to give North Louisiana a try. From the sound of
some
it.
Great hunting down around Baton Rouge, and they don't. If you get north of Baton Rouge, you get south of Baton Rouge, they don't hardly get mallards down there anymore. They get other ducks, but they don't get mallards. Mallards pretty much shortstop up here where we're at, down into central Louisiana.
Yeah.
Well, they're getting where they shortstop in Missouri now, but they're supposed to be shortstop in here.
Yeah.
I imagine just the entire border of the Pontchartrain just has Doug decoys out.
You can drive the.
But that's a very interesting hunting in South Louisiana.
Yeah, it's a way to put it. So, well, I think everybody would know you can go buy a Mojo online. You can buy a Mojo at Academy, Bass Pro,
Walmart,
Cabela's,
everywhere.
Look out that window, and you will find a place to find some Mojos. And if you're not using one already, I mean,
sounds like you should.
They work.
Now that you know how to use them correctly, like we do.
Exactly. I'm excited to, like I said, kind of take some of what you've talked about and put it into practice this year, and we'll have to let you know how it works out.
Well, the main thing is you just got to let the ducks stay just about every day.
Yeah.
Well, what they want. You go out there today and you be successful, and you go back tomorrow, it's going to be the same thing. They got a new mindset. I don't know. Their brain's not about as big as our thumbnail. I don't know what all they can think of, but they can sure change the game on you.
Yeah.
Yep.
They're definitely they can be
Been
very
there.
very frustrating. But man, it's it is an addictive. I'm only about 2 years into waterfowling. Last year was really the first year that I did it, and I
Caught the sickness.
I got the sickness real bad. It's real bad, Terry. I know we were talking to a guy in Houston this weekend. He's like, man, I've never really waterfowl hunting.
I said, don't do it.
Don't do it. You know, like, for God's sake.
Not that we don't want you hunting. It's just a black hole.
Man, I tell you, it's just so much fun. I mean, just the camaraderie that you get to have while you're out there. I don't know. It's just a lot of fun, and I don't mind sitting around and waiting for a deer, but getting to talk to your friends and laugh and
drink
joke.
some coffee.
Yeah, and everybody still. You know,
Shut up.
Here they come. So.
Well, if you get a chance to, get them on the days when they do right, it's.
Yeah.
I don't play golf. I've never played golf, and but you see all these people that get so frustrated they throw their clubs in the pond. Then the next day they go out there and dig the clubs out of the pond. They got to try it one more time, So it kind of reminds me a lot of duck hunting.
Yeah.
I've seen some guns be thrown.
Yeah.
Yeah. Thrown that gun.
Yeah. Been that guy.
Went and dug it out and kept on going.
Well, we appreciate your time with us tonight. And are we forgetting anything?
I don't think so.
Is there a particular place somebody could find you guys online?
MojoOutdoors.com.
Heck yeah.
Yeah.
Y'all do any
And
social media?
it'll connect you to our Facebook page. It'll connect you to our Instagram page.
Gotcha.
And what YouTube? We got we've been filming for 20 years. We got tons and tons and tons of videos, just of hunts, and probably more duck than anything else. But a lot of different kind of hunts in there. So. MojoOutdoors.com will get you going.
Hell yeah.
Soon there will be a video from Mozambique, it sounds like.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'll look forward to that.
Yeah, me too. Well, Terry,
Well,
can't
I hope it comes out well. If you don't see any videos, you'll know it didn't come out.
I'm sure it will. Well, we thank you very much for joining us, and best of luck in Mozambique, and we'll keep you up to date on how we do here. So with duck season on the
always enjoy talking to hunters about hunting. So we're glad to help.
Absolutely.
We appreciate it, man.
Yeah.
Yes, sir.
Talk to you later.